Which rodent buries their food underneath the ground that accounts for countless amounts of trees being grown in the national forests and parks? Well, we're gonna climb a tree to find out on today's episode of Kiki's Fun Animal Facts. Now, there are over 200 species of squirrel all over the world. They make up tree squirrels, ground squirrels, and flying squirrels. Now, on today's episode, we'll be learning about the Eastern Grey Squirrel. The Eastern Grey Squirrel are actually rodents. Now, they come from the order Rodentia, and Rodentia actually have constantly growing incisors or teeth that constantly grow, so that way they can chew on things to make them shrink up a little bit. And what's cool is that rodents actually consist of the largest order of mammals. Now, the Eastern Grey Squirrel, also known as Sciurus carolinensis, comes from the genus Sciurus. Now, Sciurus is derived of two Greek words, skia, which means shadow, and urus, which means tail. Now that means that the squirrel's name technically means shadow tail because they actually use their tails as shade, kind of like a parasol in the hot, hot sun. Now, squirrels are very solitary creatures. They don't like to be around other squirrels unless it's a mother and her young. Now, the mother and her young, a group like that, is called a scurry or a dray. Now, the Eastern Grey Squirrels can eat things from nuts, flowers, buds, berries, seeds, and in the winter time when food gets very sparse, they'll even eat crops such as wheat and corn. Now, squirrels have actually been known to be cannibals, and they also eat animals as well. They eat insects, bird eggs, carrion, which is already dead animals, and they'll even eat frogs and bird hatchlings. Now, gray squirrels are medium-sized tree squirrels. Now, they'll be from a grizzled gray color to a dark gray color. Their tails can be a gray color to a white color, and their underbellies can be from a pale gray to a light white. Now, squirrels can grow to be over 2 pounds, and they can grow to be from 15 to 20 inches long. Now, gray squirrels can live up to 12 years in the wild, but the oldest one was a squirrel who lived to be over 20 years old because she was in managed care. Now, there are squirrels that have melanism. That means that their fur is completely black. That's actually very common up in the northern parts of the country. So if you see a black squirrel that's climbing a tree or crossing your yard, that is still an Eastern Grey Squirrel. Also, there are squirrels that lack melanin, which means that they're pure white. Pure white squirrels are actually very rare. Now, not all squirrels in your yard are Eastern Grey Squirrels. They're actually fox squirrels. Fox squirrels actually have red-tipped fur and red tails. Now, gray squirrels are actually bigger than fox squirrels. This is a fox squirrel, and this is a gray squirrel. Now, fox squirrels are actually a lot tinier, and they do not have the white rings around their eyes like gray squirrels do. Now, Eastern Grey Squirrels are actually found in the eastern part of the United States, east of the Mississippi River and the eastern parts of Canada. Now, they've been introduced to the western parts of the United States and the western parts of Canada where they're not supposed to be. They've even been introduced into Ireland, Scotland, England, and Italy. Now, they're considered pests out there because they actually compete with the native European red squirrels. Now, contrary to popular belief, gray squirrels do not hibernate. Matter of fact, they'll stay inside their nests if the temperature is colder than 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if it is colder than 30 degrees Fahrenheit, they'll actually stay inside their nests and they'll rely on their fat reserves that they've eaten throughout the fall. That helps them survive the cold, long winter. Now, gray squirrels are actually eaten by a large variety of many predators. Now, these predators include black snakes, rattlesnakes, red foxes, weasels, skunks, and much more. Now, the body of a gray squirrel was even found in the belly of a largemouth bass. Now, unquestionably, these guys have been hunted by birds of prey as well, including hawks and owls. Now, even people find these guys to be incredibly delicious as well, but scientists warn not to eat squirrel brains, for they can cause Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, which is a fatal brain disorder. Now it's time for the question of the day. Now, what does it mean if a squirrel shakes their tail at you? Does it mean A, stay away, B, come over here, C, nothing, they're just antsy, or D, I want you? It's actually A, stay away. Now, squirrels use their tail for a variety of reasons. They'll also use their tail as a parasol in the summer and a blanket in the winter, but their most important role with their tail is communication. They'll actually shake their tail to let other animals and squirrels know to stay away from either themselves or the buried cache of food that they have around the park. Now, gray squirrels are diurnal animals. Their eyes have adapted to high light levels, and they even have a greater visual acuity than humans. Now, they also have better peripheral vision than humans as well. Try reading with only your peripheral vision and you'll find that you can't. Squirrels, on the other hand, absolutely can. Now, squirrels can mate up to twice a year, from December to January and May to June. Now, a female squirrel can actually start having babies as young as 5.5 months old, but the average is about 15 months. She'll actually give birth up to 4 offspring at a time on average, and the gestation period is 44 days. Once the babies are weaned after 9 weeks old, they'll go off on their own and become their own adult squirrels and fend for themselves. Now, newborns are actually born hairless with the exception of their vibrissae. Vibrissae are actually little hairs at the ends of their noses and their mouths that they use for touch and feeling, kind of like the whiskers on a cat. Now, newborns are altricial. Altricial means that they have to rely on their mothers when they're born to keep them alive. Now, squirrels are actually very important. Now, they will actually help distribute seeds and plants, and because of their seed caching activity, that actually helps the trees sprout all over. Now, they'll even distribute truffle fungal spores when they eat truffles. Squirrels are actually a host of a variety of different parasites, including ticks, lice, fleas, and roundworms. Because they're an important prey item, and because they help distribute the seeds that help the trees grow, they're actually a very important and ubiquitous member of their ecosystems. Now, some squirrels can even be kept as pets. Bob Ross, the famous TV painter, even had a pet squirrel named Peapod. Now, a lot of people advise against keeping squirrels as pets because they can have a host of different diseases and parasites, and because they're pretty hard critters to raise. Now, if you do find an orphan squirrel in the yard or in the park or anywhere, I left a link down below in the description that you can follow so that way you can keep your squirrely friends safe. Well, I'm glad that we got to discover more about Eastern Grey Squirrels. Now, if you learned something today or you want to learn more about your favorite animal, please like, comment, and subscribe so that way you can learn more amazing fun animal facts. Even share this video if you have friends that want to learn more about animals as well. As for the animal we'll be discussing next week, the joke is at the bottom of the description that will hint for that animal. And the joke is, what do you call a TV show about a farm animal who solves mysteries? Murder, she goat! So next week we'll be learning about Nigerian pygmy goats and about how cool these guys actually are. So stay tuned and see you next week. Bye! Thank you very much for joining us at our conservation shout out. Now, the conservation this week is the National Forest Preserve. The National Forest Preserve is actually helping our national forests and parks and rivers and lakes, and you can donate to help them. They're a very good conservation because they are actually helping to maintain our landmarks, our trees, our forests, our parks, and much more, including Yellowstone and Denali National Park as well. Now, you can donate to the link that I put on the bottom of the description, and you can help save the world as well. You can also help conserve energy by turning off the lights, turning off the water when you brush your teeth, and much more ways to help the environment. And remember, you can even change the world for the better. So thank you very much for joining us here at Kiki's Fun Animal Facts. We'll see you next week!